This video we already remember we already finished. If you watch my previous video, we already finished the basic of animation. We got is walking, we got is attacking. Okay, so this yeah, pretty good, but we are going to make it a user input system, so we can yeah, just press the keyboard, or if you make it as a sort of a phone game that you got some sort of a UI above it, and you want to get a user's inputs rather than just to go back to this development game engine and switch this boolean on and off. Okay, so yeah, and so before we actually do that, we need to make this a real world. So by which I mean we need to add some sort of gravity to it. We need to add collider to it. Right now, it's just sort of play the animation, okay? And I specifically placed this player at here, okay? So if you add the gravity, it will just fall down, okay? So we need to add a collider for that. So how to do that? Pretty simple. What we are going to try to do is to add a collider to the time map. Okay, so this is a time map. This is a grid. Remember, this is a grid system. And then just zooming out, this grid system, and we just paint this tile. Okay, so we get all sort of things painted. And what I'm going to try to do is to add a collider to this time map. So what I'm going to try to do is to go here, add component, and add a time map collider 2D. Okay, so we get the time map collider 2D, and you can see we already added a collider here. Okay, so once you add a collider, I think yeah, there might be a little thingy in between, so it's a better practice if you just combine all this colliding tile together as a whole, so you won't get stuck. Sometimes if you everything works so fine, but sometimes the user just stuck in certain places. That is because the developer did not combine all this tile together. So you would just jump to that exactly space between these two tiles, and the user gets stuck, and there will be a big bug here. Okay. So how to combine this? We need to add more components. Okay, so let's asset player transition idle attacking state. Idle does not have access on or any condition. Yeah, we'll dealing with that later because we're going to add more animation. Right now, let's dealing with this time map. So you're going to add a new component that is called composite collider. Let me just show you guys composite collider 2D. So this would automatically add two components. One is composite collider 2D, the other is rigid body 2D. Right now it's called dynamic. What I'm going to try to do, because this is just a floor here, and floor and trees, you can just safely say that it's static, it's never moving. And then you're going to go back to this time map collider 2D, and we got a more option here called used by composite. Of course, we're going to use by composite. So the tile just got to stick together, so it will just become a whole collider rather than a lot of tile with a sort of a crack in between. So as long as you check that, you should be able to see this collider. And there is a better way of seeing it if you want to check precisely, is that you can switch off time map renderer, and you can see this tiny little green line here, and that is the composite collider 2D at work. So you got all these fences to outline, yeah, sort of mixed together as a sort of a collider. So you sort of need to jump over it. Okay, and if you don't see this collider, you sort of need to switch the gizmo. Okay, so sometimes you go gizmo switch off, you won't be able to see it. and you can check all this things that you want to show in the gizmo, and of course you need to select that. Okay, so if you select everything else, you won't be able to see it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So you already add the slider of the map here, and of course you can add the collider of your player. Okay, so of course you can just add that instance, but things we are going to make this game much more complex in later tutorial. It's better to make prefab. Okay, so I'm going to add a folder, and that will be our prefabs. So everything that I want to reuse, I can save the instance, just click and drag here, and it will just generate a prefab. You can see player.prefab. Okay, so this will be a prefab of the player that for example, if you got multiple levels, you can just make a prefab of player and got a multiple player. So we got this environment ready, and I think it's a good time to add the collider to our player. Okay, so remember, you can added the prefab here or added the instance, but my personal favorite is that if this will be used by multiple levels, you are going to change the prefab, so it will automatically change the player here. Okay, this is like a factory, like the root file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to choose this player, and I think maybe I'm going to add a collider, add a component, and the collider will be a rigid body, 2D collider. Okay, dynamic material simulated. Yeah, I think all the good settings that are the default is pretty good. Okay, and yeah, constraints. Let me add a little bit constraints. So let's go back to this player so I can see this sort of a gizmo, because as you guys can see, I already added a prefab, the rigid body 2D just automatically being added, and yeah, so I think I'm going to make this renderer just go away, as well as the background go away, because this is a little bit blocking, so I don't want to see that. I just want to see our player. So our player, oh sorry, I think it's not rigid body. Sorry about that. It's a capture collider. So I remove components, and let's do that again. I'm going to add the prefab rigid body. Let's just remove component and add components of a collider. Capture collider 2D, because I don't want this to stuck in adding places, and so you got this player, and you can see we got this player here. You can add a render, switch the render on. Okay, so you can see this collider is much bigger than this player. So what I'm trying to do, of course, if you want to add it, the prefab, you can just click here, and there's an arrow here. Okay, open prefab, and you can adjust that as well. So this will single this thing out, and of course, my personal favorite is that you can just switch or this renderer off. It will also be a good way to do that, but this all depends on you. So if you want to single that out, you can just gray everything out, but still it's a little bit annoying that it just gray out, still can see the background. So I want to completely black out the backgrounds. Yeah, this all depends on you. And yeah, we got capture collider. Let's add the collider to make it a little bit smaller. So we just give the edge of our player, something like that. Yeah, something like this. And we don't want this to fall over. So what I'm going to do is to adding sort of a constraint to it. So do you remember that last time we deleted the rigid body? Okay, and that's because I want to show you guys this first and then add the rigid body. Okay, so rigid body to D, and we add physics to it. So rigid body to D, let's just give you guys, this is dynamic because we constantly moving, and that's okay. But we want to freeze the rotation, so we don't want this guy to fall over like when we're doing the Jedi, the crazy Jedi. Remember that? If you haven't seen that, I got a tutorial. You just watch previous project. The Jedi just rolling, right? But right now I want full control. I don't want rolls, so I just freeze rotation, and I think there is a this is sort of a constraints to it. And I think there is also mass and the gravity scale. So we get the gravity and it will just sort of collide. Okay, so once you finish with the prefab, you can go back to this player here. And I think I can just move this. Sorry, I think I accidentally changed the player name. Sorry about that. So I think I'm going to move it up a little bit. So when I hit play, we'll just forward that to the collider. Boom. Yeah, I think that's pretty good, and we can start working. We can start attacking. Okay, so pretty good. And yeah, I think that's pretty much about this video.